everybody, my name is William Chaffin and I'm a filmmaker. So actually, I am one of the few that did not make movies as a kid. I attempted it once. As a 10-year-old, I was a huge fan of Aliens, James Cameron's sequel. And I watched it almost every day after school and loved it. And I tried to make my own version of it with friends in my neighborhood. And I pulled out these boards to try and make the vests that they wore because I thought their vests were really cool. And we went in the woods and we were trying to shoot this, and I had some cheap video camera back then, and of course none of my friends took it seriously, which just pissed me off. So I was like, well, this is stupid. So I stopped, I didn't do it. But I grew up playing baseball, so I wasn't a filmmaker early on, and I got into acting my senior year of high school, studied theater at Northern Kentucky University for 2 years. And then did some acting stuff, but I got cast in a movie that a local news station was making, or a filmmaker that worked at the local news station was making. And he did this no-budget movie, and I just got caught up in that, and I was fascinated by that. So that was the first time I got kind of bit by the directing bug, but I'd always loved movies. I fell in love with supernatural thrillers early on with movies like Stir of Echoes and Mothman Prophecies and stuff like that. But James Wan, when he did Insidious and then the Conjuring movies, just, for me, took it to a whole nother level. But Fincher with Seven was the first movie. I was just like, how did he make it look like that, feel like that, flow like that? Like, it just blew my mind. And of course, back then it was still VHS, so I was renting the movie like crazy, and then bought it, and then the DVD came out with all the extras and the commentaries and the behind the scenes, and that became my film school. Like, that was my film theory class, was studying Seven, and how he skipped the whole bleach bypass process of film to get the richer blacks and stuff in the film. Like, all that stuff just fascinated me. So that was the movie that fascinated me. And then from a story standpoint was Memento, which came out in 2000. And I had just made my first movie right before that, and it was terrible. And I shot it on SVHS and edited on AB roll, if anybody knows what the hell AB roll was. Basically, it's where you recorded from one VCR to another to cut your movie. So you really had to know how to cut, where to cut, and it's like kind of like typing on a typewriter, because if you mess up anything, basically you have to fix something. Everything after that has to be redone again. So it's not like a computer. So that's how I started. And I remember sitting in the editing bay, VCR to VCR. It was so tedious and long, and I'm an impatient guy anyway, so that didn't help me. So that was kind of how those are the two movies that really influenced me. It wasn't until later that I discovered El Mariachi by Robert Rodriguez, and then learned him shooting it himself, and all that kind of stuff. And he edited that on basically AB roll, and it just cuts. The movie is just beautifully cut. So that was kind of how I started and learned a lot of those things. When I'm feeling unmotivated, pull out the old Rebel Without a Crew, read a few chapters, and immediately you get inspired and you're ready to go shoot anything. So that definitely. So those are the three filmmakers that probably inspired me most: was Robert Rodriguez, Fincher, and Nolan.
How do you feel about your short films kind of looking back?
They were learning grounds, There was a couple that were terrible, and there's a couple that are really good, or at least good enough to sort of showcase what I needed, you know what I mean? But I always looked at the shorts. I never looked at the shorts as this is going to put me on the map. I always looked at the shorts as sort of a training ground. And that's really, you got to stop putting this expectation on yourself that somehow this movie's going to be the thing. You don't know what that thing's gonna be, so just keep making stuff. Don't stop. Make your movie, get it out there, and immediately start making something else. Whether it's a short or whether you're ready to go to features, just keep doing it.
I take it that means we have a deal, Johnny.
Not quite. I need to know more about the specifics of this job. I may be a man who'll do anything for cash, but I'm also a man who doesn't want to get caught. Call me the cautious killer.
All right. I want it done at night, and I want it brutal.
I'm always been a I have no fear of failure kind of person. You know what I mean? I think it goes back to my baseball background, which anybody who's a baseball fan knows if you get a hit 3 out of 10 times, you have a 300 average, you're really good, right? But that means you failed 7 out of 10. So you failed twice as much as you succeed, yet you're considered a good player. So as a baseball player, you have to learn how to be really good at failure and how to overcome that every single day. So that was a perfect training ground for me.